Okay, the first thing I'd like to address with my first blog would be the concept of the Genesis account. I know that a lot of people believe that since there is the theory of evolution, then the Genesis account no longer applies, or that the Bible's been proven wrong, or a lot of different ideas out there as to what the theory of evolution does to the biblical account. But, well, first thing I want to state is the theory of evolution is a theory. It is not a fact, it is a theory. Nobody can prove it. It is not a law, it is a theory. It can be backed by a certain amount of evidence, but so can the idea that the theory of evolution is wrong. The evidence is stacked on both sides. Both sides are using the same evidence, as a matter of fact, to prove their points. So I'm not going to get into whether it's right or wrong. I'm just simply saying it's a theory. You cannot use a theory to prove something else. You go into a court of law and state that this is your theory, and because it's a theory, it's proof that something else is not true, and you're going to be laughed out of the courtroom. So that's first thing I want to say. Second, I'd like to just mention what on my beliefs on the issue. First of all, I do not believe in a young earth. A lot of Christians or creationists believe that the earth is only 10,000 years old off of a, in my opinion, misinterpretation of the scripture. Actually based off of a certain bishop's calculations that he calculated based on the genealogies written in Genesis and so on and so forth. But the age of the men themselves does not calculate the age of the earth necessarily. First thing I want to point out is that Genesis 1, verse 1, gives that the earth was created, and therefore, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. That was the first thing he created, and that was Genesis 1, verse 1. After that, if you ask anybody what's the first thing God created and they're a Christian, 9 times out of 10 they're going to tell you light. And that's not true. Read the Bible, and at its very beginning it says God created the heaven and the earth. Matter of fact, it didn't even say anything about creation of light. Read verse 3 where it says, "And God said, let there be light, and it was. And God saw that it was good." It didn't say anything about creation of light. It said he let there be light. Even in the Hebrew, the word for let is a word of permittance, a word of allowance. If I'm standing in a doorway and I tell you to let yourself in, I did not create you. I allowed you. And there is a difference between the two. Whenever God created something, I've noticed that he said he created it. He created the whales and the beasts of the sea. He created the beasts of the field, and he created man. He did not necessarily create the rest. He allowed it to happen. In other words, it must have been here before. It was already here. He created it in the beginning when he created heaven and earth. But the rest of it, there was something keeping it from happening, keeping it from showing itself. For instance, the light. It wasn't shining. But just because the light doesn't shine doesn't mean the light doesn't exist. And I'm probably going to have to make a part 2 of this because I don't think I have time to really get into all of it. And I don't want to get into the nitpickiness of it. But just a few quick things to show my point. When God gave the command to Adam and Eve in Genesis 1 verse 28, he told them to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. And there's several things there, but first of all, I don't know any of you who've ever refilled a glass that was never full to begin with. And I don't think God refilled the earth if it wasn't full to begin with. I believe that there was a race before Adam, before Eve, a bunch of creatures and beings, not necessarily man, but there were things before Adam and Eve. And that would actually give a lot of explanation and account for much of the confusion between proof of the Genesis account being false or true. And like I said, I don't think that it's something we need to be proving anyway, but I'm just giving my thoughts and why I believe it. Just from my studies, this is where I stand right now. And I do think that I need to cut this short a little bit and maybe make a second account later on. But, just for now, this is my version of Genesis. I hope you all have a wonderful day. God bless you.